Hi guys, Glitch here, back with another video. It's been a while. Double upload happened, and yeah, double upload's gone. Didn't really get the views I expected it to, but I'll leave it up to you guys to get another video out. So yeah, but basically the point of today's video is to be going over how strong Yuji Itadori is, and how strong I think he would be at the end of the series. Starting off with, we're just going to be going through all of the arcs and all of that stuff, and then be seeing how strong he is and how strong he would be. Basically, I don't know why I repeated myself, but yeah. To start off with, Yuji at the start is compared to a car in terms of speed. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this. He broke a world record quite easily, and he's also compared to people like Maki in terms of physicals without any training or without use of cursed energy. So he should at least be on Maki's level in terms of physicals in the first episode. He's shown to be able to outrun people like Megumi, a trained sorcerer, at the very start of the show. Many people like to argue that it's because Megumi is just like not trying to reveal his identity as a sorcerer. However, since normal people can't sense Jujutsu, they can't see Jujutsu, therefore they'd have no reason to assume that he just like be amping himself with Jujutsu or amping himself with cursed energy. Next, the next time we see Yuji in actual combat is we see him fighting a grade 2 curse. While he doesn't have any cursed energy, which means that the curse is basically unkillable for him, he's shown to just be able to like dodge the curse on multiple occasions and even dent its head. The only reason he loses to said curse is because the curse has reverse curse technique, as does any other curse. While its reverse curse technique is on a completely lower level than people, for like example Hanami, we should just take into account that yes, it's still a grade 2 curse, and at the time grade 2 curses were considered strong even by people like Megumi. He's shown to be able to tank attacks that put out people like Megumi to the level where Megumi can barely stand. He's also just like described to be one of the physically strongest of the crew. Next time we see him have any notable feat is in his fight with Mahito, where he's shown to be at least on the level of a grade 1 sorcerer, Nanami Kento. While Nanami is in base here, we do need to know is that Nanami is still a grade 1 sorcerer even while in base, and he's still considered grade 1 level while in base. And Nobara is literally just like pooping herself at the sheer sight of Nanami, right? Though he's in overtime, it shouldn't make any sense for someone who is like weaker, like who's someone who only has a power up that makes him strong for a temporary time, to be just considered grade 1 level overall. However, Nanami is considered grade 1 level overall. Yuji arguably does better against Mahito than Nanami does, due to the fact that he's like shown to land more hits consistently, and his hits work better on Mahito than Nanami does. But it is to be noted that they do have relative AP regardless of like their effect on Mahito's soul. So he should be at least on the level of Nanami. He's shown to also have attacks that harm the soul of the person he's punching, such as whenever he punches Mahito, Mahito is like shown to just like take visible damage, whereas people like Nanami, they believe their attacks are ineffective against Mahito, meaning that physicals will just not work on them. Then we move on to his fight against Hanami and Todo in Goodwill. Against Todo, he's just described to have greater physical strength than Todo, while he's not using any cursed energy. So like this Yuji and raw physicals alone should at least be above people like Todo. Also, we also need to take into account that he's also shown to like kind of be beating up Todo. He lands more attacks than Todo when they fight each other, and he's also just shown to be like devouring his skill, right? When Todo gives him his whole pep talk about increasing his cursed energy manipulation, he's then just shown to be like on a completely different level as he was before, and he does get stronger to the level where he's able to battle special grade curses like Hanami, which just goes to show his immense growth, since he goes from being on the level of a grade 2 curse to a special grade in just a few chapters. It's less than 100. Then another important side note is that if after Megumi fights Todo, we see him state that okay, if it's a battle in raw physicals, Yuji would basically beat up every single person here, right? Even after fighting Todo and after getting kicked in by Todo. And like this should just imply to us that okay, Yuji does this immense physically gifted character who just like for some reason he's above people with heavily restrictions, such as Maki, who has basically no cursed energy for increased physicals, only for someone with increased physicals and cursed energy to still be stronger than her in terms of stats, of course. Then we move on to Shibuya arc, which is my favorite arc in all of the series. We see that he's at least shown at the start of Shibuya to be at least relative to Megumi. However, right, what is to be noted is that he's having a hard time with working together with Megumi, and he also is just like stated to like not care about swords in terms of weaponry because he thinks he can defend himself with jujutsu, hence why he gets hit by Awasaka so many times. So that should explain his quote-unquote anti-feats against Awasaka, which should, like many people argue, put him above Yuji. However, that's just heavily implied to not be the case. He then goes on to like unironically dominate Choso throughout all of their fight. At the start of the fight, we see that Choso sends out his fastest attack, piercing blood, at Yuji. Right, Yuji has no prior knowledge to this technique, and then Yuji is just able to point blank block it and then take no damage, or take like only minor damage, as he's still able to use both of his arms that he used to block it. He then proceeds to pressure Choso in terms of physicals, and he hits him 3 times, and those 3 hits Choso thinks could have killed him. He then he thinks Yuji is so dangerous, he's willing to risk getting thrombosis, which is basically a fatal blood disease, right, which kills you, right. He's willing to risk that just to see if he can beat Yuji in a fight. We can also just argue that Yuji is just like nerfed here because Yuji is feeling regret at killing both of like Choso's brothers, and the fact that he considers Choso's brothers to be human, and he sees them crying when they died. So Yuji just kind of conflicted when he's fighting Choso. And then when he brings it into like, sure, he's getting kicked around at sometimes, we all know this, but whenever he brings it into physicals, we see that Yuji just like the stronger one of the two. We see he's able to like predict Choso's movements before he does them, and also just send out a variety of attacks at Choso before Choso can do anything about them. So it's pretty obvious that he's above Choso in this fight. And then if we add it on top of the fact that Sukuna just verbatim calls Choso an inferior opponent in compared to him, right, it should just make it even clearer that like Yuji is just the stronger of the two. During his fight with Mahito, he's shown to be able to overwhelm the curse, and he's just also shown to just basically be putting hands on him to the whole fight, to the level where Mahito needs to like basically evolve his soul and like to become his perfect form to be able to actually hold a candle to him or unleash 120% of his potential. They are shown and implied to be relative throughout all of their fight, with Yuji being able to react and block some of his attacks even after he's perfected himself, right? And this Mahito is just stated to be 200% tougher than he was before. Whether you want to argue that tougher is in terms of like stats or whether it's in terms of just durability, it doesn't really matter, because Yuji is able to imbue, like he's basically able to control the amount of cursed energy he puts into his Black Flash to the level where he puts all of his cursed energy into his Black Flash, and he's able to send Mahito across the map. So he should just clearly be above Mahito, or at least relative to him, if you don't like if you aren't fine with him being above. I know a lot of Mahito touts out there exist. Then we move on to his fight against Yuta. This fight is heavily misunderstood. Many people like to argue that Yuta is like holding back for whatever reason. However, we see that he's literally in a binding vow to like not kill Yuji, and then he has no reason to be holding back because he can literally use reverse curse technique to literally revive Yuji at any point he wants to. So to fulfill his binding vow, he should be at least going all out, especially when the clan hands want to like make sure he's dead, but since he's faked his death before. And Yuji, even then, he's still shown to be able to be relative to this Yuta. He's stated to not have been fully recovered, hence why Naoya perception blitzes him. And if you add it on top of the fact that he's also just stated to be holding back against someone like Yuta. Now, how strong is Yuta compared to Naoya? We know that Naoya literally finds Yuta scary, and he literally just like even when Yuta is doing stuff that piss him off, Naoya, an arrogant character, refuses to voice his opinions in front of people like Yuji, or in front of people like Yuta. He also, if you add it on top of the fact that the only time he quote-unquote perception blitzes Yuji is when Yuji is literally just like, he just then realizes Naoya's intentions, and Naoya just goes off to attack him immediately, right? So you could also argue he's caught off guard by Naoya's aggression, but it's a bit of a shaky argument itself. So Yuji, based off of him scaling to at least above people like Naoya, where does that get him? Now, we know that Naoya is basically unfazed at the fact that Maki killed Ogi, right? Now, Ogi is stated to be not inferior to Naobito in any way, right? In terms of a sorcerer, we know sorcery is obviously a combat related profession. So if he's not inferior to him, therefore he should at least be relative to him in terms of stats. So yeah, he should be above the fastest sorcerer in terms of speed. Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, that's basically it for the video. He's really strong. Yuji should at least be special grade at the very least. If you like these type of videos, please remember to like and subscribe, or Supreme Rare 1, and hit the main expansion on the subscribe button. Oh my god, I'm never saying that again. And have a nice day. That's it.